In the world of Doctor Who, there have been many different actors selected to play the title role. Doctor Who number 7 turns out to be a very talented actor by the name of Sylvester McCoy. Good evening, I'm George Sampson, and tonight we have the unique opportunity to chat with the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. We've heard many bizarre stories about some of your exploits before you became the 7th Doctor. For example, you hold the world's record for putting live ferrets down your trousers, true?
Well, no, not really. I once did a show called An Evening with Sylvester McCoy, the Human Bomb. And in it, I had to learn lots of stunts. And the director and writer of this show kept ferrets, and he wanted to invent a stunt. I used to do things like set light to my head, mentally combust cotton wool, levitate people, lie in a bed of nails, common garden, everyday things that an actor has to do in his life. And he came up with this idea. He'd heard of a barman in Stoke-on-Trent who, for a bet of 10 shillings, would try and keep a ferret down his trousers. And the barman lost the bet. I think that's all he's lost. I hope it was. Anyway, because of that, that inspired him to think of that we should maybe invent a stunt. So we invented this stunt, and we pretended I had a world record. And every night, and twice on Saturday, I would try to break it. But it was really an excuse for various other things, like for the audience to come up and examine me to make sure I had no protection or any stiffening or anything like that. Or it was also an excuse for the ferret handler, who had a nose protection, and for the discussion of ferrets, and the various paraphernalia that goes into breaking records. It was a joke about that, really.
Well, now, ferrets are nasty little creatures. Do you ever get bit?
No, I was never bitten, really. But the ferret handler once did have a ferret hanging off his fingers. It wasn't very nice for him.
Now, I understand that this sort of caught on as something of a fad in Great Britain.
Yes. We were performing in Kirby, which is just outside Liverpool. Now, Kirby is a hard town, and not many people have gone in there and come out alive, really, in the performance sense. But we had been paid by the Merseyside Arts Association to go in there. And a newspaper came along called The People. It's a bit like the National Enquirer. They came along and they watched us and followed us around. And they did this big article on the Sunday saying, at the end, saying, it might be fun, but is it art? And overnight, people read it and started sticking ferrets down the trousers all over Britain. It became a national fad. Very ridiculous. We were doing it for a joke. People started doing it very seriously. I saw people on television with 25 ferrets down their trousers.
You must feel an awesome sense of responsibility.
Not really. I just think how ridiculous. We were doing it as a joke.
Now, you were also a bouncer for the Rolling Stones, is that true?
Yes, that's right. Now, all 5'6" of me.
Yeah, don't want to be cruel, but you're not a large man. How did this come about?
It's not cruel. How did this... Yes. Well, I used to work at the Roundhouse Theatre in London, where a lot of concerts were put on, and the Rolling Stones appeared there amongst many other great bands. And I was asked one night to stand on the stage with another actor, a small fellow, and both of us the same height, to be a bouncer, to keep people off the stage. As it turned out, there were so many people packed into the theatre that they were like sardines, and no one could have got out of the sardine tin onto the stage. But that was before the Stones came to America, and that dreadful occasion when some bouncers killed a few of the audience.
Yes. You studied for the priesthood, too.
Yes.
What happened? Why are you not a man of the cloth today?
Women.
Women.
I'm afraid so. Wonderful, glorious women. What happened, I was born in and brought up in Scotland, but of Irish immigrant family. And like most immigrants, they're more ethnic, you know, than the original Irish. Like on St. Patrick's Day, we'd wear so much green, birds would build nests in us. You know, we were really, really dedicated. Well, and I went to primary school, and the teacher was called Rosie O'Grady, would you believe? This is absolutely true. And she was our headmistress, and in the 11th year, when we had to change, you know, go into up to the secondary class, she used to have occupational chats. And a fireman would come up and talk to the class about being a fireman. And then at the end, she would ask, who would like to be a fireman? Of course, everybody put their hand up, especially me. I put my hand up for everything. The fireman, policeman, teacher, the lot, train driver. And then a priest came. And then at the end, they asked who wanted to be a priest, so I stuck my hand up again, as I'd done for all the rest. But there was only myself and a friend, Danny Sweeney, and a girl called Mary O'Malley. We put our hands up. And immediately, this hadn't happened in the other occupations, immediately we were sent to see the priest. We hadn't been sent to see the fireman.
Including Mary O'Malley?
No, she, for some reason that I didn't understand then, but now I understand later, wasn't allowed to go and see. But Danny Sweeney and I, off we were sent immediately. This was quite a jape, really, because it got us off school for the afternoon. And when we got to the priest's house, Danny lost his bottle. He wouldn't knock the door. And I was all a bit cocky, so I went up, knocked the door, and up the door, said, I want to be a priest. And before I knew it, I was on the train to the north of Scotland and was studying to be a priest.
It's almost like joining the army.
It was, but it was wonderful. I mean, I did actually enjoy it. I got housemaid's knee from praying. I was really... And I decided to become a monk, and then I met girls.
As you took the role of the Seventh Doctor, there was a little bit of problem with the series in Great Britain. The head of the BBC was saying that if the audience didn't increase, this would be the last season of Doctor Who, if you can imagine such a thing. Did you feel sort of pressure on you as you went into the role?
Well, no, I didn't really, because a lot of this I didn't know about. I mean, because as soon as it happened, I got in, you know, I was immediately dived into the role and the learning and the doing and the making, as well as the coming over to America and the meeting. And so it's only kind of, I haven't been around in Britain long enough even to read about it. But I believe that, I know for a fact we are doing another series. I mean, it was announced publicly on television, on a live program I was on the other day, that, by the producer, that A, they're going to do another series, and B, that I'm going to do the Doctor. So I immediately phoned my agent on the air and told him.
With the possibility of a cancellation, did the people who write the series, produce the series, did they set out to do anything different as you came on?
Well, yes and no. The first story was written by people, Pip Baker and his wife. They have written before for the program, and it's more of a traditional one. It's very much like the older programs. But we have a new editor, and he came online or on stream with the next group of writers, and they're definitely of a different vision, a different idea. I think they'll be fun as well. I mean, the initial one's good, great, but the other ones are different.
We haven't seen, as of this taping, any of your episodes yet in the United States, but I understand that there's been some changes, some cosmetic changes in the opening of the show. The
yes,
music's a little different.
They're different. I don't quite know how different, because I didn't see the last shows very much. I haven't really studied the opening. But it's... all I can tell you is that my sons, who watched it, they thought it was wicked.
Wicked?
Wicked. Well, you see, over here in America, I believe bad is good.
Yes.
Wicked in Britain is great.
Ah.
So anything that's wicked, that means it's really good. And people have spoken very highly of the new change. They like it a lot. So that's good. I mean, I can't judge, but people tell me they like it.
That's good. Is there anything that fans outside of Great Britain can do to ensure that there will be many more seasons of Doctor Who?
Well, yes. I mean, I think if they keep supporting the PBS stations that buy it and encourage, and even threaten the PBS stations to keep, you know, buying the program, then I think that would help, and keep writing in.
So the BBC does take notice of what goes on outside of Great Britain with the program?
I think it's beginning to. It didn't used to, because it wasn't that wasn't its job. Its job was to make programs for the British public and judge by that. But because of economic considerations now, I think these things have a sway, you know.
Now, before you actually got the part of Doctor Who, you, as I understand it, were interested in having the role, and it went to Colin Baker. Is that correct?
Yes, I'd heard it too late. I heard that they were looking for a new doctor, and I phoned up my agent and said, I would quite like to, you know, go along for the role. And then by the time, also a friend of mine at the BBC, a producer, phoned John Nathan Turner and learned that the role had already been given to Colin. So I just thought, oh, well, that's what happens a lot in jobs. You know, you're an actor, you kind of keep your ear to the ground, and you find out and hear and get in touch.
But second time around, you got it.
Second time lucky, really.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, I understand the Regeneration scene presented some problems because Colin Baker did not want to come back and be a part of it.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, I'm not really supposed to tell you anything about it, but all I can tell you, well, I mean, the thing is that I do know that you say the program hasn't been seen here in America yet. It has. There are pirate copies already. I was put out on a Monday. I was in Seattle. On a Monday night in England, it was the first program was aired. And on the Wednesday in Seattle, I saw a pirate copy of it.
Isn't it interesting how the Doctor Who underground works like
so,
that?
I mean, it's not giving away. I'm sure this will seep through to the Doctor Who fans even before it's shown on PBS stations. What happens is that I had to dress up in Colin Baker's costume. Now, Colin is a very tall man.
Yes.
And towards the end of his tenure, he became a very wide man as well in a minute. So this costume was going to, inside it, peeping up, saying, here I am. And then they gave me a wig, a curly blonde wig. I stuck it on my head. I looked like Harpo Marx. And then they just lay me face down on the TARDIS floor, and there's a crash, and a hairy hand comes in and turns me around, and the regeneration process happens because of the crash.
Sounds fascinating. Could you tell us the story of how you were selected to be the 7th Doctor?
Well, I had to go along. I heard on the news that Colin was leaving, and I phoned my agent again and said, look, have another go. They're looking for another doctor. And he phoned up, and at the same time, this friend, the producer at the BBC, phoned John again and reminded him that he thought I'd make a good doctor. So that made John interested. As luck would have it, I was also at the National Theatre performing in a play. So John invited me along for an interview. Now, normally an interview for any job just takes about half an hour. But this one took 2.5 hours. And I mean, it's a bit much, you know, long, because you don't know how long you're going to keep the charm up for. I kept thinking, gosh, I hope it doesn't, I'm getting tired. But anyway, I managed to con my way through that interview. And I had another interview of 2.5 hours, then a 5-minute interview with the head of drama and series. Then I did a screen test, and they still gave me the job. Also, John came to see me in the play.
Well, they really put you through the ringer. Then after that first 2.5-hour interview, did you come away feeling that you had any chance of getting the job?
I had a feeling, you know, because the interview had gone on so long, I had a feeling, you know, I was optimistic. Yes. Optimistic, but I mean, I've been optimistic before and failed.
Did you go into your first episodes of Doctor Who with any preconceived notions of how you're going to play the role?
Well, I had a feeling. I'm more of an instinctive actor than a kind of a calculating one, if that makes sense. I like to, you know, feel the costume but when I was at the interview with John, I chatted about the kind of eccentric professors we have on television. We've got a couple of them who are very enthusiastic about their subject and enthuse you with their subject, and are very, very kind of amusing, but they don't mean to be. You know, it's just they don't see the comedy in what they do, but they're very funny at the same time. And so I wanted to bring something like that. Also, to go back to Patrick Troughton's era and the first Doctor's era as well, you know, to bring a bit of them to it.
Did you have any creative latitude once the series started? Would you be allowed to make changes, for example, in the script?
Well, when it first started, because all the shows had been written for an unknown Doctor. They were already written and there. So there had to be certain changes. The first writers weren't wildly keen to begin with. But then once they got to know me, I think they allowed me. They realized that, you know, my own... it wasn't dramatic changes. It's just like if they wanted something that they thought was funny, I would say, well, look, can I do it this way? Because this is how I would do it. And I was allowed to suggest little scenes, because I have a visual eye. And there's a couple of little visual bits that I was allowed to put in. But it depends on the writers. Some are very cooperative and others.
You've been quoted as saying that you will never allow your Doctor to resort to physical violence.
Yes.
With that thought in mind, how then do you defeat your enemies?
Well, you see, I said that because when I watched the Doctors, because I watched, you know, Troughton and Pertwee and Tom Baker, and I do not remember them using violence. That's not a memory I have. And when I saw some of the later tapes, I was given some tapes just before I got the, you know, I started the job, and I was amazed to see that a Doctor did actually use physical violence. And so you know, I didn't think that was a job I'd gone for. I mean, you know, if I was an actor in another piece, and that was the part, if I was asked to play James Bond, I would expect that's what the role was. But I didn't really expect that for the Doctor. I also feel that the Doctor should be able to face violence and win against it by wit, wisdom, or a pair of strong legs. You know, that he should never be seen to be involved. He's bigger than that. He comes, you know, he's much, much cleverer than... Violence is the kind of last resort of, you know, of people who have no kind of brain, really, I think.
So I infer from what you're saying that the show had started to drift away from its original concept of this very ingenious Doctor who gets out of situations, and your job was to sort of bring it back to that original concept.
Well, that's the job that I've kind of said I want to do, yes. Yeah.
This must be a very creative challenge for the writers to have the Doctor rely on ingenuity. You can't shoot your way out of a scene or fight your way out of a scene.
Oh, yes, it makes it much more difficult for them, yes. And rightly so. They should work.
Now, does all this mean that you think there's too much violence on television?
Oh, yes, definitely. I agree. I think there is too much violence. There's a big debate going on at the moment in England, and they're thinking of cutting down a lot of American programs I think we have something like sometimes 5 hours of American programs a week or a night or something, and they're going to cut them down by at least half an hour, because there's all sorts of meetings. This now going on about violence on television in Britain.
Well, now, certainly in Great Britain, Doctor Who is considered to be a children's program, so there's a certain responsibility there to be something of a role model.
Yes.
Yes.
I suppose so, yes, yes. But we do, I mean, it is a family program, not a children's program. I mean, it's one of those programs that has always attracted all the family, you know.
One of the things that makes the Doctors different from one another is their costume. Could you tell us about your costume?
Well, it's, I have a straw hat, a Panama hat, much like the 5th Doctor's. Yes, only he wore it down, I wear it turned up all the way around. And it's got a bandana, paisley, a bit like that tie, really. Paisley bandana around it. And it was my own hat. I used to wear that in life. And I went along to the interview wearing it. And the director liked it so much, I think he offered me the job, because he wanted the hat.
The well-dressed actor.
A well-dressed actor, yeah. Eccentrically dressed actor. And I wear just a kind of a jacket, not unlike this, with lots of pockets, because I like to, you know, I think he's a professory, doctory type who carries lots of gadgets and paraphernalia. I have tweed trousers and two-tone shoes. The most, I suppose the eccentric thing would be, you call it a sweater, we call it a pullover. That's got question mark motif over it. But it's rather tasteful, I like it.
I have a feeling that'll be a hot item at many Doctor Who conventions, the sweater.
Perhaps, yes, or the knitting pattern or something.
Yes. Now, you also have a paisley scarf, too, correct?
Yes, I wear it round the back.
A la Tom Baker?
Well, in a way, yes, because when I told my friends and anybody I met who knew I was going to be the Doctor, they kept saying, oh yes, he wears a scarf. You know, what kind of scarf are you going to wear? Well, I know now, and I did know then even, that only one Doctor wore the scarf. But somehow it stuck with the image of the Doctor. So I kind of wear it as an echo, a hint. It's just of that Doctor. It's not a large scarf, it's just a little one.
You also carry an umbrella. Is this going to be a key part of your costume?
Yes, it slowly developed through the first series. I wanted an umbrella. I was given an umbrella, Colin Baker's umbrella, but I wanted one that was different, more Chaplin-esque, was how I felt, like an ordinary one. And so I eventually have got one, and the handle is a question mark.
Of course.
Which I thought was a really good idea, and suggested it to them, and they've given me one. It looks rather nice. It's a red question mark, an ordinary London gents black umbrella with a red bottom.
Now, without giving away too much, I do understand that umbrella plays a very key role in one of the episodes.
Yes, it saves my life.
Yes, and we'll just wait and see about that.
A couple of times it saves my life.
A couple of times.
Yes, two stories, yes.
So in the next season, are we going to see more of this umbrella?
Oh, I should think so, yes. It'll be around anyway.
What attracted you to the role in the first place?
Well, as I say, I was a fan from many years back. And also people had said to me quite a lot of times that they thought I would make a really good Doctor. And directors and casting directors in Britain who, when they heard, I mean, this has all been feedback from lots of places, because, you know, our world is a very small world over there. They've all said, what a wonderful casting. You meet people and say, great casting. Those that know my work, what I've done in the theatre and on television and films, think, exactly right, exactly, he's the Doctor. So, mainly, that's why, those reasons.
Did you feel comfortable with the role from the very beginning?
Yes. I mean, that's the surprising thing. People keep saying, were you in awe? Were you frightened? Were you this? I mean, I don't mean this in any big-headed way. I mean, I just wasn't. I felt at home. Bizarrely, I just felt at home doing it. I felt, this is all right, fine, I'm enjoying this.
We read in America that you went in signing a 3-year contract, and we're starting to get the feeling there's some sort of unwritten law that you can only be the Doctor for 3 seasons. Is this a conscious thing that's going on, part of the BBC?
Well, I'm not sure really. I think I think Peter Davidson, I believe, left because he wanted to after 3 years. I mean, he had to, I have to agree to do 3 years. And I think that I wouldn't be at all surprised if it goes well. If they like it, they will ask me to do more. And if they don't, they have got they've got the way out if they want.
Do you run a risk as an actor of being typecast as a Doctor Who?
Well, in Britain, all the Doctors are working very, very happily after Who. And so I did think about that when I was offered the role. And so I take that into account.
Well, indeed, you're working during the off-season too, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm at the National Theatre doing The Pied Piper, which was specially written for me by a poet and playwright, Adrian Mitchell.
Now, you said you were a fan of the series before you ever got the part. Which of the doctors was the first to catch your attention?
Patrick Troughton. I don't know why I didn't see William Hartnell. Maybe I didn't have a television, but I cannot remember why. But I remember Patrick Troughton, I'd sit every Saturday, look forward to it. Some friends, we'd all gather together in this room, and it was, we'd watch it and love it.
Would it be fair to say that he's your favorite doctor?
Well, it's a difficult one, really, because I suppose it'd be fair to say that the first Doctor, the one that attracts you, you have a fondness for. It's like your first love, really. You have lots of other loves, and they're equally important and wonderful, but and magical, but the first one has a special place. But I've enjoyed the others very much as well. I mean, I carried on watching and watching and watching. I thought they were great.
Have you carried any of the other doctors' portrayals into your own portrayal? Have you tried to adapt any of what they've done into what you're doing?
Well, I only very superficially remembering Patrick Troughton as more of a comical doctor, comedic doctor than, say, the others. I wanted to bring that back, so there's a bit of that. I also like to bring back a bit more of the crabbiness that Bill Hartnell had, if I could find ways of getting that in, because I think that's rather good as well.
In your opinion, what are the elements that go into a really good Doctor Who story?
Well, adventure. I think also, if it says something that touches people, you know, it has, you know, people are involved in the subject. If it's about something that can relate to them personally, but also the adventure, the fantasy, and you know, good acting and writing.
Do you have any desire to write any episodes yourself?
No, not really, not yet. I mean, I've been told and think that I am a very creative actor. I like giving ideas, like, you know, I have suggested a couple of scenes in some of the episodes, and they've been put in. I haven't really written them, but they're more visual things that I think of. Perhaps I should write them, then I get paid for them.
Now, is your Doctor going to rely on some of the traditional props like the sonic screwdriver or canine? Will they be around?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the sonic screwdriver perhaps might come back, but the thing about the reason why the sonic screwdriver is not here is because, again, that was a prop that helped the writers. If the Doctor was up against the wall and there was no way out, and the writer couldn't think of any excuse for getting him out of that terrible situation, out would come the sonic screwdriver. So our job is to make the writer's life really difficult.
Yes.
Let them stretch their imagination, have real fun.
And no canine either?
Canine, no, canine. I don't think, I mean, I was chatting to some of the other actors who worked with canine, and canine was very slow, you know, it didn't move very fast. And they'd have to pretend, you know, run like this, and then hang around, wait for that damn dog to catch up with him, you know, come on. And also, you need a flat surface, so when they went out filming in the ubiquitous quarry in England, which turns out to be many, many different planets, they would fall over.
Yes, we have a theory here in the United States that all British science fiction is shot in the same quarry.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, the last quarry we were in was in Somerset, and I've got this fantasy of writing a book, a tour of the Doctor Who quarries of England.
Now, your Doctor introduces a new companion, a young lady by the name of Ace, I believe. Can you tell us about her?
Well, yes, she comes in towards the end of the series, so her character is very explosive in more ways than one. She comes from Earth. She's a modern London girl. She wears a kind of jacket with badges all over it. She's into the latest records and all that. She's a very beautiful girl. The actress who's playing her is very beautiful. She's got one of those faces that, when it goes on screen, the camera loves it. She looks like a young Ingrid Bergman on the screen. It's amazing. I've never seen that. I'd heard about that, bit of that magic with the camera, but she's got it. But she likes to blow things up, and so the Doctor's going to have a lot of trouble with her, trying to stop her blowing the place up.
Sounds like it could be very noisy, too.
Yes.
So now that you have your first season under your belt, are you looking for any major changes in your next season?
Well, I haven't really. I just finished it, really. And I think we're going to meet sometime and get together with the editor and the producer, and we'll have a chat and work out various ways where we can go.
Are there any plots or situations that you would like to find your Doctor in?
Well, yes. One. I mean, funny enough, I was. They've done so many plots, and most of that is one would be repeating oneself. But I'd like to do something about racism, because I mean, I think that's an appalling thing. And I'd like to, you know, that all these multi-races that we've got in this imaginative universe of ours, it would be nice to do something pointing out the horror and stupidity of racism.
Of course, we're also coming up on the 25th season of Doctor Who. Are there any plans for a reunion episode?
Well, I've heard rumors, only rumors, that there perhaps, but I mean, I've also heard that someone suggested that we should have because, you know, a couple of the doctors have died, and someone who took over as the first Doctor, he's already died as well. Someone who was a double, and perhaps Colin Baker, I don't know if the BBC in here would manage to sort out their problems. So it might be difficult to get all the Doctors together, but there was the suggestion that we should have with all the companions. I thought that'd be rather nice, with me and all those companions in the TARDIS over there.
There you go, yeah.
That'd be great fun. Really good fun.
So what about the Daleks? You escaped the Daleks in your first season. Do you know if there are any Daleks in your future?
I would not be at all surprised. There should be, I think so, yes. I want to meet the Daleks. I'd really like to know how they work.
So what's ahead for Sylvester McCoy? Do you have any big projects coming up other than Doctor Who?
Well, I'm now rehearsing. I'm going back tomorrow to London to rehearse for the Pied Piper at the National, and that will run until next March, and then I'll start doing the Doctor Who, the second Doctor Who series.
Will we ever see you on stage in the United States?
Well, there is talk of bringing this Pied Piper to the States, because it's been very popular, sold out completely last year when we did it. And they've asked me if I would like to do it, but it depends on other commitments. I'd like to very much perform on the stage in America, yes.
Sylvester McCoy, thank you for a most fascinating conversation, and we wish you the best of luck in your role as the Doctor.
Pleasure. Nice meeting you. Thank you very much.
A thoroughly fascinating man.